Before I even get started on this, thank you to Max for the introduction and also everything you did in Tampa. Tampa, since I've taken over the New York club, has been the benchmark that we always wanted to compete with, and I'm glad that we've kind of grown to be that out-of-state benchmark that Tampa is inside the state of Florida. So thank you for the work you've done down there. All right. Thank you, Florida State. Thank you, Alumni Association, and to the alumni everywhere that prove the old adage, if you build it, they will come. John Crow, Kathleen Daly, Brian Swain, and to those that I am joining in the Circle of Gold, what an honor to be here with you today. There haven't been many times in my life that I've been at a complete loss for words. Receiving the call from Max that I was to be invited into the Circle of Gold was certainly one of them. Also want to thank my parents for instilling me the importance of education, pushing me to stay in-state for college, and planting the seeds of volunteerism. My folks are from New York originally. My mom went up to Syracuse. Dad went to American down in D.C. Can't say that I was raised a Seminole, but I did grow up in South Florida. From a young age, I could tell that Miami fans were trashy, UF fans were smug, and Florida State fans seemed like the good ones. This was cemented when the time came to look at schools. Forgetting the speeding ticket for doing 95 on the turnpike on the way up from Coral Springs, the ensuing lecture my dad and I received from the state trooper on why I should not be using a radar detector at 17, while my mom looked on mortified from the back seat. In hindsight, I suppose it's been pedal to the metal, all things FSU since then. We arrived to Tallahassee and Florida State, brick buildings, low-hanging Spanish moss, and some of that southern charm following the 7-hour drive from Broward. This is a Florida I had never known, a better Florida in my opinion. Stopped by Gainesville on the way back down, do the campus tour. We were greeted by that pompous attitude and generic suburb feel. Well, here I am. And enough nice words about the school down in Gainesville, as this has been far and away the kindest things I have said since I moved into Smith Hall. The dearly departed Smith Hall. I'll never forget walking into my dorm room for the first time in the summer of 2002 and thinking, what did I get myself into? As I stood in the middle of my 150 square foot space with two holes for beds carved out of the walls. And then I moved on to Sally Hall. Can't say I had the best luck when it came to what dorms I was getting, but I hit the lotto in regards to my random roommates who are still some of my best friends today. In hindsight, freshman year split between Smith and Sally Hall was really just a prep course for my first apartment in Manhattan. Small spaces, they force you outside. Tallahassee, just like New York, there's nothing wrong with being forced out in either of them. Speaking of New York City, where that unconquered mentality is surely put to the test, 3 words, New York City. I imagine most of you have seen the shirts, the social media, the flags flying on ESPN College Game Day, and at Seminole athletic events through the Northeast. Who knew that this would grow the way that it did? I was fortunate to have the opportunity to serve as president of the Seminole Club of New York City for about 5 years, and I was blessed with amazing timing in beginning that 5-year run during the 2013 football season. While the club is probably more well-known for its wild game-watching parties and T-shirts, internally, these are just really 2 of the ways the club makes almost all of its money to fund what I like to think of as the important stuff. The networking events in New York, growing the 9/11 Scholarship Endowment, helping support boosters in the Alumni Association. This experience has provided me with memories that last a lifetime, ranging from a post-Heisman celebration with Jameis at Saloon on the Upper East Side, or showing up to Times Square at 4 in the morning with an army of Noles to make sure we dwarfed any other fan base that showed up for ESPN's game day in New York City. But the most rewarding will always be the moments I found out that one of the connections I helped facilitate led to a recent alumnus job. All of this takes a ton of work, and none of it would have been possible if I wasn't surrounded by amazing Noles who shared in the vision of always pushing the boundaries of what we could accomplish as a club in New York 1,000 miles away from the mothership. When I sat down to write this, I thought, what does FSU mean to me? And like others before me have said up here, the coaches tell recruits and the campus tour guides tell high school students, at Florida State, you pick up a second family. Whether it be my friends from when I was a student here, my New Yorkers, the relationships I have made in Tallahassee and across the country through the Seminole Club Network, my group text of Noles that is probably buzzing in my pocket right now, or the random assortment of Noles I go to games with, it's all about the people. And at Florida State, we have 352,000 amazing people spread across the world. Lastly, I'd like to issue a challenge to everyone here tonight that's not already doing it. Support your local club. It all starts with just having alumni show up at events. Go to a game watching party or 2. When they have other events, show up and bring someone. If you see something that you think could be done better, great. Volunteer, do it better. I assure you will be welcome with open arms. Thank you everyone for having me here. Go Noles.